Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing the second step in the series that I'm doing on how to get started homeschooling. So if you haven't watched the first video, go back and watch the first video in this series on how to get started homeschooling. And if you've gotten the okay from the first video, then hit that thumbs up button and stay tuned. Now, like I said, today is the second video in a series of videos that I'm doing on how to get started homeschooling. And in each of these videos, I'm giving you little bite-sized pieces, actionable steps that you can take to prepare and get started homeschooling. So in the last video, I talked about step one, and that was to pray. The second step is, drumroll please, to research your state laws. So the leading authority on where to go if you're all over the place, if you're in a different state or whatever, is to go to a website called hslda.org. They are the most popular website that contains all the information for each state on the state requirements of homeschooling. And so what you need to do is you need to go to that website. I'm going to link it down below in the description box. Actually, straight to the page, Find My State. And on that page, you can click on your state and they will give you an overview of the state laws for homeschooling in your state. And you can even get more details. And so you can click on that link and they'll break down every requirement that your state has in regards to homeschooling. So once you have looked up your state and you've gotten all of the requirements, you actually need to go directly to the source. So you need to Google your state's website. If you live in Texas, then you could Google, Texas homeschool laws, and then look for the .org, a .gov website so that you know it's specifically from your state. Now, it might be a little bit difficult. You might have to, look through and search and find, but what you want to look for specifically is your state's government code on homeschooling. And there should be a link to a PDF, and it should list for you the state's government code on homeschooling, just to confirm that hslda.org has accurate information and they're not leaving anything out. You always want to go back to the source. HSLDA is a great resource and reference for getting started in your researching your state laws, but of course you always want to go to the source directly and read for yourself the state laws. But this going to HSLDA will get you a good start in the right direction. And then from there, you're going to want to make a list of those state requirements, specifically what they are. Just pull out a sheet of paper or a notebook or wherever you're keeping all of the information that you have for homeschooling, and you're going to list all of the state requirements. And then after you've listed out all of the state requirements, you're going to make a plan to follow those requirements, whatever they may be. So for example, I live in Texas, and so I can share with you now the state requirements for Texas. First of all, the first rule is that it needs to be bona fide, or basically not a sham. You have to actually homeschool your kids. You can't just pretend to homeschool them or say you're going to homeschool them and not actually homeschool them. You actually have to homeschool your children. The second requirement in Texas is that your curriculum needs to be visual. So this could mean it could be out of a textbook, it could be out of just a regular book, it could be online through video courses. You need to have some sort of visual curriculum for your children. The third requirement for Texas is that your curriculum needs to include the 5 basic subjects. For the state of Texas, those subjects are reading, writing, grammar, math, and citizenship, good citizenship. And so what I did then is, if you're following these steps, you write them all down and then you make a plan to follow them. So for the first step, it must be bona fide. Okay, well, yes, I'm going to homeschool my children. I am doing it. So yes, I'm not trying to get out of educating my children or not sending them to school. I am homeschooling my children. So check right there. That I've made a plan and I'm going to fulfill that promise, okay? So the second requirement is that my curriculum needs to be visual in book or video format or whatever. So this we'll get more into in a little later video on choosing curriculum, but basically you just need to have some sort of curriculum to follow. Whether you're reading aloud from a storybook about history, there's your visual form of curriculum. Or if you are doing math lessons online through a video instructor, there's your visual curriculum. So I have a plan in place for that. Then the last one is making sure that I have all the 5 basic subjects in my homeschool. Okay, well, whenever I plan my school year, which will be in another video, we'll go into detail about that, then I will make sure that I include math and spelling and citizenship and all of those things. So knowing those basic requirements will help you in the future videos I have for you in planning your homeschool. So just make sure that you have a list of those requirements and that you can refer to them when you start planning and preparing to homeschool. So I did want to share that Texas is on the low end of regulation. We really don't have much oversight or regulation, but there are some states on the high end where you might be coming from that you need to know and be aware of as well. So of course, looking on the HSLDA website and confirming those through your state, whatever the case may be, are the requirements, then that's your first step. But I wanted to give you some examples just to kind of give you an idea of what to do, because maybe your children are already in school and you need to pull them out. Some states require you to write a letter of withdrawal or a notice of intent that you're going to homeschool them, all of those things. The HSLDA website has templates and sample letters for you to send to your local public school if that's necessary. Other states require you to have at least a GED or a high school diploma to educate your children. So in regard to that, you would have to submit some sort of form. Maybe you need to keep attendance records, or you have to homeschool a certain amount of days during the week and for a certain amount of hours throughout the school year. So those are just other example requirements that some states do require from their homeschooling parents. So you will also need to make plans for those types of things. If you're going to have to send in a letter to your public school that this is what you're doing, then you'll need to do that. So you'll need to make a plan of what you need to do based on your state's requirements before moving forward. So once you've done that, you have your list and you've made a plan on how to meet those requirements, then you're ready to move on to video 3 after this. So you can get started with that, and when you're done with doing your research on all of that and you've made your list and you have a plan in place, then you can go on to the next video. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.